feel like if you can't give yourself 5 minutes, how can you expect spirit or your manifestations to surface if you can't even give yourself that 5 minutes of grace, that
You're
five
not
minutes?
allowing any space to receive.
No. And again, another great visual, right? You have a plant and it has this beautiful, container, and then it's growing and it's beautiful and it's like so pretty, but then all of a sudden the leaves start to darken, it starts to fall. It's why? Is the plant no longer beautiful? No, the container, it's outgrown that container. And the 1 year is asking you to have a new container.
It has to grow into that new container. It's not like you put it in there. It actually looks kind of weird even. It
Yeah.
looks, it looks like this tiny little plant now in this big container. And it might not even make sense when you look at it. Like, why did you put it in that pot? But
Yeah.
that's where you're allowing that space. It has to have time and nurturing to grow into it. I love this analogy. Have you felt like you're standing at a crossroads lately? Like one part of you knows you're being called into something bigger, but another part of you isn't quite sure what your next move is, but you know that you do need to make a move? So many people right now are feeling the pull of a major life transition, an identity shift, a career change, revamping something in your business, or what I like to call a quantum jump. And according to today's guest, who is a world leading expert in numerology, there is a reason for this. So we're joined today by numerologist Larissa Martincic, and we're diving into the numbers that may be influencing your life more than you realize. And we're talking about the most important numbers everyone should know and how to use numerology as a tool for greater clarity and decision making. So if you do not know your life path number or your birth number, I have put the very simple and clear instructions inside the show notes for you. So you can swipe up here on Apple, on Spotify, anywhere you're listening, and they're in there with even an example so that you can get your number and even get more out of this episode. And I've also put it in the description here on YouTube at ProjectME TV for you. And why so many people are finding themselves at a crossroads right now isn't just the fact we're in a fire horse year, we're in a universal 1 year. And what that energy is trying to teach us, you're going to be blown away and so validated from this episode. It's going to give you the chills because one of the themes you'll hear throughout this conversation is clarity, but not in the way you'd think about it. It's about not forcing answers, not over curating or thinking about your next move, but creating enough space to actually hear yourself. And that's one of the reasons, which wasn't even planned when I did this interview, of why I created your quantum walk. Walk into the biggest quantum jump of your life. This is free for right now, and it's my 7-day guided walking meditation series to be done while you're in some form of motion. You don't have to be walking, but you could be stretching, folding laundry. It's much better though when you are in some form of motion because the answers you're searching for don't come when you're sitting still at your desk and chewing on it and trying to figure everything out. They come when you're in movement. And Larissa backs that up today without her even knowing about this quantum walk series. You can go to projectmewithtiffany.com/firehorse walk in order to get it. Plus the Firehorse Identity Journal that is going to help you cement in this identity, this shift, this transition that you are being called to morph into in such a powerful way. Again, that's projectmewithtiffany.com/firehorse walk. So swipe up in the show notes in the description here on YouTube. And I'm not going to have that for free for that much longer. So make sure that you take advantage of it, especially right now during this energetically potent time. And this episode also coincidentally is airing on 7/7. And I didn't plan that either. It happened to fall on that. And so there's a lot going on energetically in this episode. So let's get to it. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and this is the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your abundance, your relationships, and everything in between. I know you are going to go insane for this conversation today. I have brought on by far the leading numerologist that is out there. She is Coach Tiff approved, and she's not just a numerologist where she's like, oh, looking at the numbers and analyzing it. That's interesting, but she's a psychic numerologist. She really uses numerology as a tool to help you get deeper and have an understanding and a connection to your soul contract and what is going on with you personally and universally. So I can't wait for you guys to geek out on this. Welcome to the show. This is long overdue. Thank you for coming on with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I am such a fan of yours, and I am truly honored. You bring so much value to your community, and you have such a level of expertise that I just want to hang out with you. So I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
So people love knowing things about themselves, right? Their sign, their Enneagram, their human design. What is the part about numerology that you feel is, let's just say, maybe the most important or a core foundation that everyone should know? Like what are numbers that everyone should know about themselves?
So, when you do your chart or you have your chart done by a professional, there are many different numbers within your chart. But I always talk about the core numbers, and there's usually about six. But to me, the ones that I see my clients using to their advantage are truly understanding their life path, which is the path that their soul must walk and live so that they can feel like they're attached to their purpose. I try to explain it as make believe we're the ocean, and you go up and you take a cup of ocean and you walk away from it. Well, that cup still is full of ocean water, and that's you. You have been separated from consciousness, separated from universal truths, but you're still a part of it. And when you understand your life path, you understand this connection to a deeper part of yourself that you said, I'm going to master. I'm going to achieve this. I'm going to struggle with this. I'm going to overcome this. And in order for you to truly know that, you have to know your numbers. And I think about the thing understanding who you are is you also get to understand what's your weakness, where are
Mm.
your shortcomings. And then that's where we learn, that's where we grow, and that's what it's all about. We are, spiritual beings having a human experience, and it's all about soul growth. And we have this deep architectural plan. So, one, the life path. I also love the energy of your actual birth date. And that's fun for me too, because that's where I make a lot of my content because everybody knows what their birth date is.
I thought the life path was your birthday. So they're different things.
They have different meaning. And the way I explain this is in numerology, all the numbers go from 1 to 9. And then if they're an 11, 22, or 33, that's master energy. And some forms of numerology also hold 44 as a master energy. But what we need to understand is the frequency of each number, the meaning behind these numbers, and then wherever it's placed on your chart, it has a different meaning, a different function, a different purpose, and also a different intensity. So the life path is the most intense, most important, valuable number. And then the birth date is the strength of the soul. And it shows other people what you're capable of. So this is where the outside world perceives you. This is the characteristics of the soul. And then we have name numerology, which we will take your name and we will break it down according to the numbers. So, for example, in Western numerology, A is 1, B is 2, and it follows. So we would calculate your
Interesting.
name, and then you get what we call an expression number, or also known as a destiny number. And that destiny number tells you what you should be doing to fulfill the life path.
So they
Okay.
all work together.
Exactly. And then we have a heart soul desire number. And that is who you truly kind of long to be if you didn't have to work or money or like, you could just poof and make a wish and it would all appear. That's like the essence of the soul. And then we have a personality number. And that's how you shine. So that personality number is really important because it tells you where you should be putting your efforts. If like how you come across or how you function, how you work. And then we have personal cycles and themes and, personal month energy, universal energy, personal year cycles. And that's a
So
big
it's
one.
really in depth. It's not, and I think it's important for people to understand that there's like actual science behind it. This isn't just like a cutesy thing to
No.
learn about yourself. Where this comes from, doesn't this come from like ancient times, the numerology thing?
This is before you and I. It's been around forever, ancient times, and they came up with this system, and it's all about the healing components of number, the frequency of numbers, and it's been used forever. There's so many different forms of numerology. You have Hebrew numerology, which I'm also certified in gematria and energy of that. And then there's Kabbalah and Chaldean. So every single form of numerology has a little bit of a difference, a little variations. So it really is a preference. And I always say, is one better than the other? No. It's what you're drawn to. Like some people love destiny matrix numerology, but for me, it doesn't resonate. So I never went that path. Now, there's a little bit of a story how numerology came into my life. If
That's
you
what I wanted to know next, which of course, as you being an intuitive, you
Yeah.
already knew that. Because you could have picked as someone who has this psychic gift, which I know is a challenge for so many of my healers, my star seeds, my spiritual people, because you tend to have a lot of gifts and people don't know what to do with all of them or which one to focus on. So, yes, we want to know what made you choose numerology, or did it choose you?
I think it's a combination of both. And for the people that are listening and are having their spiritual awakenings or developing their gifts, and they say, okay, I'm going to go down the spiritual rabbit hole. Where do I put this all? How do I develop this? I always say, serve you first. What would you talk about for free? What would you talk about for a fee? Tiffany, if you and I were at a diner right now having a cup of coffee, we would be talking about this. If I went out to dinner with couples, and we're hanging out, we're having dinner, eventually it's going to come up. I don't shove it down people's throats, but this is who I am. It's a part of me, and I enjoy it. So if you enjoy it, then that energy is transferred to your clients, to your people, and you're helping people. So I grew up, big Italian New York family, and we'd go to grandma's house every Sunday for dinner. And I had an aunt, she's still with us. She's not a practicing numerologist anymore. She's 98, Aunt Rita. And she was a psychic numerologist 50 years, 60 years ago. Okay.
Wow.
So I always say she was a trendsetter. She was breaking the norms and opening up the doorways. No one said the words
No,
manifestation.
you were she would have been considered like a nut.
And she was this amazing soul in this world of men, and she would be do the numbers for all businessmen in New York City. And I would go there on Sundays, and I was always drawn to Aunt Rita. Like we had this soul connection. I didn't have the words for it as a child, but now I understand why I felt this way around her. And we would talk numbers and we would talk spirituality. So growing up, this wasn't weird or taboo. It was Aunt Rita. Like it was my aunt. So how could this be bad, right? And then it became fun. Oh, we're gonna go get our numbers done. Aunt Rita, who should I pick up with my boyfriend? Like, kind of thing. It was like, oh, you're having a problem. Come, I'll bring you to Aunt Rita's and we'll do your numbers. And as I started to see, oh my God, this came true. Your aunt said this said this. And I saw it in my own life, my friend's life. I was hooked. So when I turned about 16 or 17, she started to teach me a little bit. And then I would share this with my friends. And exactly what you said, I started talking to too many people, and all of a sudden I was weird or, and I shut it down. And I was like, okay, that's a private conversation for a select few people. And that's how I kept it for a very long time. And as I continued, I had my own life, building a family, problems, tragedy, grief, all of it. And it was after the passing of my father that I was like in a really bad place. It was very traumatic for me. And Aunt Rita saw that. And she said, you know what, Larissa? I think it's time I teach you, really teach you. She said, you have the numbers to be a great healer if you choose this.
Wow.
I said, okay. So every Sunday I would go there. I would bring her bagels and crumb cake, and she would get her little easel out. And it was so cute. And it was my father's aunt. So I also felt like I was keeping that relationship. And she's like, okay, now you have to go do a reading. Now you have to go do a chart. Like she pushed me to do these things. And I did. And I went onto Facebook and I said, I started sharing about numerology and my passion. And I said, would anyone like a chart? And 10 people said yes, and I never looked back.
How long ago was this?
So this probably really started me learning it probably around 2015-ish, and still not fully out of the spiritual closet. Just I would go to little events, or I would go to like a clothing store or something, or a hair salon, and I would do readings in the back, or go to like a metaphysical shop, and not, but no one knew this. I wasn't telling the soccer moms, hi, my name is Larissa and I'm an intuitive, it wasn't happening yet. And then something, I felt very called to social media on TikTok. And I knew my guides, my spiritual team was leading me that way. And I turned and I said, okay, I told my daughter I'm going on to TikTok, and she freaked out. She was like 15 at the time.
Meaning she's horrified.
Horrified. Mommy, please don't. My friends are all gonna know you're a weirdo. Stay on Facebook. Like you're gonna be on the FYP. I'm like, I don't know what an FYP kind of thing. And I told her, I said, listen, I promise you two things. One, I will never do anything that is not ethical or responsible or embarrasses you, kind of. I'm going on to be a teacher, a messenger of spiritual information. Your friends will never see me. I'll be on a different side of TikTok. And I went onto TikTok, and within, I think it was less than 30 days, I went from 0 followers, 0 clients, zero anything to 52,000 followers in 30 days. Or like 30, like about 1 to 2 months in there. And it became addictive. Um, then that dopamine, like, oh,
I do know.
the more videos I
Yeah.
do, the more I could reach people. My whole mission when I first started TikTok was serving a million souls. That was my goal.
And where did that number come from? Is it something you felt and it just felt like right?
It just felt big. It felt like a big vision, a big dream. It felt a little unattainable. And it was like like almost a competitive drive within me, because I'm a life path one, born on a one, Aries. So we love goal setting. The one loves to create things, but then they don't do anything small. They don't do anything small. We have to do things on grand scale. So I felt for some reason that 1 million would mean that I was successful, and that people would take me seriously, and that there would be some respect to what I was doing, that I wouldn't be considered like,
A cook,
little,
like a kook, like a kookaroo.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like if 1 million people liked my stuff, then it has to mean that I'm worth something, which is also a very bad thing to think, because I've learned along the way our worth is not in that. We cannot place our value in others, obviously. But in my mind at that time, I just wanted this to be seen as a serious profession, because I treat it like that. So I was an elementary school teacher prior to this. I have 2 teaching degrees and licenses, and when I still think I'm a teacher, I'm just teaching something else. And like anything else, I work at it. I study it daily. And that's what I did with Spirit. I said, okay, Spirit, if you want me to do this work, I'm going to show up and I'm going to serve, but just bring me the right people. Just make sure that I'm protected, and that, good people come to me. And I went on this quest that I was going to show up every single day. And I did for an entire year straight. And I made 5 videos a day, 5 pieces of content every single day, 7 days a week for 365 days.
Okay, you motherfuckers. Did you hear that? And a lot of people's eyes are glazing over, going, how did you have time to do that? And how did you have the stamina to do it? And it sounds like what you're saying is when you know you're being called by a higher source, you just know to trust and follow it.
Correct. However, I also now looking back realize that I thought if I did more, I would get there faster. And, uh, this whole process of spirituality and discovering your spiritual truth, it's not about reaching the goal. It's not the finish line. It's not the money. It's not the titles and the accolades. It's how do you feel in the process of becoming that person? And I got caught up in the dopamine hits, the virality, the likes. And it actually was a very big learning lesson for me. And it was one that I do not recommend. It almost took me out. It caused problems in relationships. And I almost lost the entire mission because I was so burnt out. It was so unhealthy that all of this work almost stopped
I
because
appreciate your humility and sharing that. People who've been listening to my show know I've shared that myself. I call it like getting caught up in the sauce, right? And even though it's coming from a good place, but it's definitely the ego. Do you feel you had an ego death?
did. Yes. And I never really understood, I know in the spiritual world they throw out these terms, karmic, ego death, karmic ties, and it's like, well, what does that mean? Release the ego. The ego is there to protect you. It's there to push you. You have to learn to live with your ego. And what happened was the work became about Larissa and proving Larissa's worth instead of being about spirit and serving spirit and being a messenger and a conduit of spirit and being about the people. I started out for it. And yes, my intentions I thought were I'm going to do good in the world. I had this feeling, this urge, this calling that I was meant for more. And I know a lot of your listeners are probably feeling that, right? But more does not mean intense. It just means, like, to me, taking your skill set, taking your knowledge, taking your heart, and helping one more person. If you can do that and it feels good to you and you repeat it at a pace that's comfortable and it doesn't cost you your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, then you're on the right track. If you're getting sick, if you're losing sleep, if you're going to bed at night and you can't shut the ego off, it's not good. It's not good. So then I had to like actually put my phone in another room. I found myself actually, my husband would fall asleep and then I'd sneak off to my phone and look at the likes and I said, "Who's this for?" And I had to like it was a real dark moment for me. And I'm glad I went through it because I will never repeat that. Like it will never happen.
I'm glad you went through it too. And because you're someone who is capable, and I'm like tearing up because I've not heard anyone else share that aside from myself, because it is humbling to share. And it's so important that people hear this because when you go and look at her pages at Goddess Giving, and everything is going to be linked of hers, because I know you guys want to immediately go check out all of her stuff inside the show notes here on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible. You can swipe up, and then in the description here on YouTube at Project Me TV, we have it in there as well. But you've amassed a large following. I mean, you're in the millions.
Correct.
And a lot of people assume that in order to get there, you have to do that. And my guess is, have you grown more since you turned back in and honored yourself first?
Such an amazing question, and thank you for asking it because I was struggling. So I got to about 250,000 followers like this, pushing. And then it took me, I want to say another year or so to get to 500,000 or maybe like right around under 500. And this is when I was burning out. This is when like my kids were like, "Mom, everything is not content. Like our lives are not content. Oh,
And
I
these
can
are
get
teenagers saying this to you.
teenagers." And they're like, "Mom, we're so happy for you and we're so proud of you, but we didn't sign up for this. Like my birthday shouldn't be your content. Like that's my birthday. And I was like, whoa, they're so right. Like, wow. But as a family, I'm so proud of my daughters and my son for having the strength to say that to me. Like, Mom, we love you. We think you're amazing. What you're doing is phenomenal, and we want to support you, but we don't want to be in the videos. And I was like, okay, wow. So, and then I set up a private account that's just for family stuff. And then I separated it. I learned to separate the business of spiritual numerology and who I am and my clients from my family. And then I said, okay, well, if I owned a business, I wouldn't be working until 9 p.m. So phones are off at 7. I would from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, no phones. And then I would do like a 30-minute kind of catch up before I went to bed, just make sure everything was what, did I get a client booking for tomorrow or something like that? And then that was it. And once I released this attachment to this need to hustle and grind and, go hard, which is if you're on a spiritual path and you are grinding and hustling, you are not in flow, you are not in alignment, you are not trusting in spirit. Once I healed that ego and had that ego death, that is when I took off on another level.
Oh, I'm like crying again. It's like, it's so true.
I actually have so I keep screenshots of like when I hit milestones and things like that. So I was this close to shutting down my TikTok and I had my ego death. And within weeks, John Edward, I know you all know that name, found me on TikTok and said, I've been following you for a while. I think you're this. I wanted to have a conversation with you and invited me to be his numerologist in his community. But it was after I healed whatever had been going on.
Okay, I had no idea she was going to start talking about the importance of movement and walking and getting your body involved when you're trying to gain clarity and release what's no longer serving you. I did not ask her to talk about that, but I want you to look at that this is even more divine synchronicity, that the psychic intuitive numerologist is saying this is a practice that is an absolute must for you. And now you have that available to you in my 7-day guided walking meditation series. I mean, that's pretty insane, especially when we're looking at it that we're in a 1 year, we're in a fire horse year. So make sure you go grab this and don't just do the walk. Do the fire horse identity journal that goes along with it, because otherwise you're going to stay in this liminal phase of quantum jumping and you can get trapped in that for years unless you put yourself into action. And it's abundance action you need to take, not frantic action. And that's why I deliberately created it in this way. Go to projectmewithtiffany.com/fire horse walk. You can swipe up in the show notes and grab it here, of course, and access any of Larissa's stuff. And you can go to the description on YouTube at ProjectME TV. Make sure you get it. Prioritize doing it. You have two people telling you who have the receipts and have the background and have a combined decades and decades of experience telling you this in fact emphatically works and this is what you need to do. So then if you're in resistance of doing this thing, that's something that you need to take a look at. Why are you resisting doing something that you know is going to get you to the other side and is going to make you a frequency match for everything that you're wanting to bring into your life? Go to projectmewithtiffany.com/firehorsewalk. Okay, back to the episode. Do you feel it's because then you've become a frequency match for this opportunity that you weren't before because he was in your audience before?
Correct. Yes. Oh, Tiffany. So the way that I explain it and the way it makes sense in my brain is like radio frequencies, music, tone, right? So if I'm driving and I'm listening to like 70s disco, that's a vibe. That's a whole energy. Like, you feel a certain way about it, right? But you're not expecting to listen to hip hop come out of those speakers when you're tuned into the 70s channel. You're tuned into 70s frequency, you're getting 70s frequency. Does that mean hip hop doesn't exist? No, it just means you're not a match to receive it. And if you want to receive it, you have to tune your dial into it. And what happens is if you're in hustle grind, you're in struggle. You are tuned into struggle, hustle, you know, uh, I gotta fight. I'm a fighter. I gotta do it for myself. And that's what you get. Once I tuned into peace, ease, joy, flow, spirit, take the freaking wheel kind of thing, all of this came to me because that's where I was tuned into.
Did you have any moments during that pivotal identity shift you went through, which I truly believe as a collective, those of us who are intuitives, those of us who are highly sensitive, empaths, and have these gifts, we're all collectively going through a major shift because we're being called to rise at a time when we're needed the most in this world. And when you go through that identity shift and you've let that part go and you're operating differently, did it feel uncomfortable to you or scary to you to when it became easier and the abundance and all the external stuff was coming without you pushing and forcing? Or was it like an easy transition? You're like, oh, this is great.
I think at the beginning it was a little bit more difficult, especially because I know my numbers and my numbers are a little in my name numerology. I have the numbers where I have to learn to master the flow and trust of spirit. Like that is one of my karmic contracts. So anytime I'm in that grind and I'm like, okay, this is Larissa. And I'm separating myself from this alignment, and I have to just work on my affirmations. I work on receiving. And what I do is I I take the goal and I say, I am now a container. I hold the space to receive this. I'm capable of leading millions of people and supporting them without sacrificing my family. I say the things that I'm afraid of, and I speak it in a way that I'm like, okay, I don't have to be afraid of this anymore. I don't have to hustle anymore. I also think it's also our age too. Like we grew up in a time where we were raised, money doesn't come, eat without success and hard work, and you have to save for a rainy day, and it's ingrained in us. I work on receiving abundance in it's a daily thing, I think.
I agree. I
You
mean,
know,
I have a whole brand on it, but yes, I agree. I
I
mean, I
think
agree.
I think
It's a daily
daily.
thing to manage what goes on in our brains.
And do I think it got easier? Yes, but it's still a work in progress. I don't think it's something I've mastered. And I think I just have learned to recognize when I'm slipping back. So, for example, I'm a life path one. One is the most ego-driven number.
Oh, this is so your ego
Oh,
death must have been
oh,
intense.
and then also in the process of this, my mother was battling end-stage renal failure and she transitioned. And here I am. I remember after my mother's passing, I was like, I gotta make a video. And then I looked at myself and I was like, what the hell are you doing? I need, I'm not even allowing myself to grieve. Something is really wrong right now, Larissa. Like, this can't go on. And then I felt guilt because I said all this time I was so worried about making content, my business. I should have been spending it with my mother. So I really crashed. My system crashed and I broke down and I said, okay, I'm going to build this better. I'm going to build it right. And I'm never going to make that mistake again. And the one is so competitive. We have no patience. We want to start all the things, but the reason why we go so hard is because we are not really good at finishing things. So a lot of times we give up right before the finish line. So that hustle drive mentality is really a part of a one because we're like, if I go really hard, I'll get there faster. I won't get bored and I won't give up. You
Because it
know?
sounds very ADHD, and there might be some of that, but there's also the fact of this is a common
It's a
trait
common,
of a
oh,
life path one.
because it's fire. Fire is not slow. Fire is intense.
Wait
Fire,
a second. So you're saying the one is fire, and we've got the fire horse year.
and it's a
So
one.
I mean, wow, how is this feeling for you?
So if I had not gone through what I went through previously, I probably would be in some type of spiral right now. However, because I've matured, I'm now 50. And I've gone through that ego, shadow death, and all that, and I'm keeping myself in check. I'm seeing it very differently. So I am giving myself grace. And I want to share this with everybody because everyone is feeling the one of 2026 because 2 plus 2, which is a 4, plus 6 is a 10. Okay. So we don't count the zero, and it's all this new rebirth. It's a rebirth for our society. It's a rebirth personally, professionally, spiritually. And for anyone who's ever given birth or been around people who have had, nieces or nephews, and they hand you this beautiful baby, you wouldn't expect that baby to eat a piece of steak at a week old. They couldn't digest it. It would make them sick, right? You don't get mad at that baby because it can't eat. You coddle it, you nurture it, you give it what it needs at the right time, having full faith that that baby is going to develop and become able to have these things. That's what's happening for everybody. I don't know if I went off on a tangent, but like we're all at this rebirth, this identity's forming. And just the way you would give a newborn grace, nurture, and love, you have to do it to yourself. So everyone talks about the one being amazing. The one is isolating. The one is lonely. The one is
Thank you.
scary. The one is not kind. The one is, I don't need anybody. It's all about me. It's all about what my wants. But it's about learning what your truth is. It's about being independent and taking care of yourself in a new way. So, like, I know my business is up leveling. I know my identity is up leveling, but I'm not expecting it to all have all the pieces this year together because that's not what's going to happen in 1 year. 1 year is all creation. It's a year of constant creation.
I think because we came off, and correct me, of course, if I'm wrong, because this isn't my expertise, but we came off of a nine, right? From the year of the snake, the shedding, which for me was one of the most painful years. Also, quantum jumping during that year, major identity shift, ego death, all the things. And I wanted to believe, right? Because I saw we're in a fire horse, a 1 year, like, oh, thank God, right? All of this is for something and it's going to be magical, this is never a good idea to set yourself up this way. And I think a lot of people did because it was so intense. And then when you're still met with more struggle and lessons and tests and all exhaustion and all sorts of stuff, then it's like, oh my God, but we're in this like special year and I'm still a disaster. So, what do you have to say to those people, including me? Because even though I'm on the other side of it, there's still some stuff going on there. Like you said, I can feel things still being formed. And
So
I
I'm
want to force that formation, by the way. My ego does.
right. And mine too. And my spirit guides they're showing me like a painting and they want me to share this story. So imagine you have this beautiful canvas blank. You have the best art tools, the best paint, the best scenery, but you're the one holding the paintbrush. You have endless possibilities of what you want to create. And it's that starting that is the scariest part, right? And then you start and you slowly, each day, you add a little bit, you add a little bit, and you add a little bit, and then you take away and you fix and you edit and before you know it, you stand back and you're like, wow, I really did create a masterpiece. It doesn't happen quickly. It takes time. And you might paint something and throw it out and you don't like it. Well, then we get a new blank slate. And then we get another one. And then we get another one. That's the year of the one. It's a fresh start. It is a clean slate. Everyone is you you don't have to bring. And here's what I'm going to say to you, Tiffany, that I think is going to heal you and hopefully your listeners. The last 9 years, that nine death, that nine shadow, it wasn't just a bad, painful, emotional, because the nine gets a bad rap. The nine is actually a beautiful number. It's a number of service, a number of compassion, a number of humanity. And it's about understanding that you affect the greater good and what can you do to impact the world. So it's also a year where someone like you might want to be on a world stage or put your work out on a grander scale, okay? But you're not just closing a year of 2025, you were closing a cycle of the last 9 years. And what got you through those 9 years, Spirit is saying, been there, done that, karmic lesson closed, contracts done, we are starting a new 9-year cycle. So it it's scary because you're on a new adventure. It's like the last 9 years you were studying abroad and now you're gonna go and do like, the Americas. Like you're in a totally different place. You're just, but yet we're trying to connect it all.
And
And
trying to speed it up when we're only on year 1 of 9, so to speak.
and if you think about it too, after birth, right? You just went through. So let's go through that 9 again. 9 months of pregnancy. You're surrendering to a higher power. You're going to love that child, whether it's a boy, girl, blue eyes, green eyes, blonde hair. You don't care. You're just, please be healthy. Please just right? Surrender. And it's out of your control at this point. The only thing you can do is wake up, keep yourself healthy, keep your mind right, hydrate, take your vitamins. Okay, so that's what we need to do. Then you go through fear, anxiety. Am I going to be good enough? What if I don't? What if I'm a bad parent? It doesn't go well? And then you go through this actual painful birth. And in that moment, the fear, the terror, the pain, it goes away in an instant because new life was created. And now you have a whole new name, a whole new identity, and a whole new world. You don't even resonate with Larissa before becoming a mother. Who the hell is she? I don't even know who that girl is. That's what's happening to you right now. And I'm using the analogy of pregnancy because it just, not everyone has to go through pregnancy to understand what I'm saying, but it's just, I'm hoping that this is giving you a visual and a great analogy of going from being single and, on your own to birthing an actual life.
Yeah, and there's no parent on the planet that wouldn't say there was like before I was a parent and after I was a parent.
And then what does every parent say? I wish there was a parenting book. Because what happens, you get this new life and you don't know what to do. You have to figure it out. Trial and error. What is the baby like? What does this cry mean? What does that cry mean? That is what is happening to you right now in a year 1. You are learning who you are all over again. And
Why
what
is it that when we have this blank canvas, and I'm just going after the thousands of comments that I have on my videos, in this, so to speak, we can call it a crossroads, but it's really a rebirth. And it's blank, but that is so overwhelming to so many people. And so they're saying things like, but when is it going to end? And I don't know which way to go. And I don't even know what to do next because when you're holding, like you said in your analogy, you have the paintbrushes and you're holding all of what are people supposed to do that feel almost like like paralyzed with the amount of possibility and what to do.
So I just had this conversation similar this morning, and I was talking, I have like a little community, and I was talking about becoming new. And well, someone says, well, do I take a Reiki class? Do I take an astrology class? Do I do this? I said, well, I can tell you to do all the things. I can say, try this, do that. But the problem is, in a 1 year, you cannot get outside visions, outside ideas. It has to come from the one, from the source. Now, let's talk about that, right? Where is your source? Where does your soul live? Your soul lives within your body. This is your higher soul. You are here, and all the answers are within. But what happens is we get that blank canvas and we want to go to outside validation to tell us who to be, what to think, how to feel, and what to do. Because if someone else says it's a good idea, then it must be true, right? So, what I tell my community is I want you to sit in the power, sit in the presence of your soul. I don't care if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you can do, you're going to sit in the power and listen for within the answers. So I can't meditate. I do, but I really struggle with it. Like I'm such an ADHD person. So I do walks. Those are my meditations, guided meditations, walking. So I told my community for the next 30 days. So whenever this airs, I would love your listeners to do this. For the next 30 days, I want you to dedicate 30 minutes for 30 days to a new task. Maybe you go walking for 30 days. Maybe you plant in your garden for 30 minutes. Maybe you listen to an audible. When you are doing nothing that has to do with the finding the answer, right? When you're doing something else and you're really just being present with yourself and your moment and you're learning and you're trying to grow your brain and all that, that's when the answers will come. That's when the downloads will come. That's when spirit will give you the next step to the next step to the next step. The year one isn't about completion, it's about taking one step at a time. Spiritual breadcrumbs. I think Gabby Bernstein is the one who uses that term. She says spirit leaves breadcrumbs, clues. Oh, or like that game we used to play when we were kids. Oh, you're hot. Oh, you're cold. Oh, you're hot, right? So as you're doing these 30-minute tasks, you're going to get an idea and you're going to follow it. And you're going to follow it until it doesn't feel good anymore. And you go to the next one and the next one. I hope that answered the question or gave you a little bit of a path or a way out. And you asked me earlier, how come numerology? Because I have such a joy in it. And that's how I knew numerology was the path, because I never wanted to do this work. I just wanted to talk about numerology. And I had my first client, and I literally got off that phone, and it was like I was on a spiritual high. I felt so amazing. And I was like, I want to do that again. Like, give it to me again. And that's when you know you're in alignment for your calling. But I took Reiki, I took astrology, I took all these classes when the whole time
Mm.
the numbers were already there, you know? Like, so I think it's a matter of sifting and sorting, and I think it's a matter of trying different things. And the 1 year is the start of, and the 2 year is now taking that, which will be 2027, and merging it within your existence.
So when this work, if you've taken the time and the space and the surrender to get there, you're saying then in 2027 is when you start seeing more of the stuff come into actual like 3D reality.
And balance, yes. So the year one is a little fight or flight. It's a little stubborn. It's a little super critical of oneself. It's a judgmental year also, because a lot of people talk about the amazing side of the one. They don't talk about the negative side of the one. It's bossy, it's controlling, it's ego driven, it's me, my world, my needs, what about me? And that, we have to fight that. And the way that I'm fighting it is I'm trying to make it about other people. So when I feel this spiral, I say, okay, I need to serve more people, teach more, read more. I need to step into nature more. Like, so for me, my 30 days, 30 minutes, I also don't have a conventional job, so I have more time, right? But I'm doing 30 minutes of writing, 30 minutes of walking, and 30 minutes of speaking. Why those three things?
Meaning
Because
speaking like to
so,
yourself,
no. So for me, I'm going to go on Instagram stories or a Facebook Live. And for 30 minutes, we're just going to have divine
like
conversations. Yeah.
serving through speaking.
Serving through speaking, right? But that's also my part of my karmic destiny where I came here to speak my truth. That's part of my gematria. That's part of my Hebrew numerology where my gift of service to the world is to be a speaker of spirit. So I'm doing it 30, 30, 30. And the reason why is because it brings me joy. So, for example, I went on a walk today and I did 5 Instagram stories of just thoughts in my head, spiritual insights, spiritual downloads. I came home. I've never felt better. Never felt better. But who am I really serving? I'm serving myself. But so that's where that one comes. That's where that one is so important. I am doing what fills Larissa's spirit first. And then you share it with other people, and then you can turn it into your business, and then you can turn it into your canvas and your masterpiece. But it's about you. You have to serve you first. You have to do what makes you happy first. A lot of people work, they have children, they have jobs, relationships, and they say, well, I don't have time for spirituality. Well, spirituality should be simple. It shouldn't be, you're sitting in Sedona meditating for 5 days. Who can do that, right? Which I would love to. Just getting back from Sedona was amazing, but spirituality should be made simple. And it shouldn't be another job. It's just connecting to your spirit. So I always say if you're a busy person and you're about to go into your house and now you got to do the dinner after a long days of work, just sit in your car for 5 minutes.
I
Just
love a car cocoon spiritual session.
Yeah. Well, when do the downloads come, Tiffany? When you're making the bed, doing the dishes, folding the laundry. Why? Because you're sitting with your spirit. You're listening. And let me tell you something. The year one is the ignition and igniting your spiritual clairs.
Which
That
is
is what,
why I keep saying to people, and you're backing all this up with numerology, which is so cool. And the puzzle pieces are really snapping into place, I'm sure, for everyone listening right now, is that there's this level of exhaustion, but this also need. It's not even, it's a need and a want of more isolation. And it's not personal towards other people. And I'm an introvert anyway. But when I say my amount of alone time and quiet time is on an all time high, I would say, of my entire life.
like till this day, I give myself the weekends off, but Monday through Friday, for the first hour, I wake up, I have my coffee, and I'm making the beds, doing laundry, getting ready to take my son to school. I have my headphones on and I'm listening to spirit. If I don't do that, like some form of like inspirational video, Louise Hay, Abraham Hicks, Neville Goddard, like these are my people, Wayne Dyer, like they're in my ear within the first 30 minutes of waking up. The other day, my husband came home early and I was doing the dishes and he literally was standing behind me. Because I had the noise cancellation. I said, he scared the crap out of me. I said, you know what? I better take these headphones off because I can't hear anybody, like you can't hear anything. But I do that every single day. And my kids know mommy's having a moment with, right now. And it just sets the stage. I feel like if you can't give yourself 5 minutes, how can you expect spirit or your manifestations to surface if you can't even give yourself that 5 minutes of grace, that
You're
five
not
minutes?
allowing any space to receive.
No. And again, another great visual, right? You have a plant and it has this beautiful, container. And then it's growing and it's beautiful and it's like so pretty. But then all of a sudden the leaves start to darken, it starts to fall. It's why? Is the plant no longer beautiful? No, the container, it's outgrown that container. And the 1 year is asking you to have a new container.
And it
And new,
has to grow into that new container because I'm a plant person.
yeah,
It has to grow into that new container. It's not like you put it in there. It actually looks kind of weird, even. It
yeah,
looks, it looks like this
yeah.
tiny little plant now in this big container. And it might not even make sense when you look at it. Like, why did you put it in that pot? But
You have,
that's where you're allowing that space for it has to have time and nurturing to grow into it. I love this analogy. And wrapping up, I want to know, we know now guidance on what we need to be focusing on and making time for. Is there anything in a 1 year that you're like, do not do this in a 1 year? This is not a good move.
so a 1 year is really because it has that power behind it. So I think every year, and this is where some numerologists will say, this is a bad year, that's a good year. I don't like those words. In frequency and in energy, there's high and low energy, there's duality in all of it, there's alignment, out of alignment, high frequency, low, right? So the one has good points to it and it has bad. The one is a great year for anything that has long-term potential for growth and investments. Excellent year for leadership. Excellent year to put yourself out there, networking. So if you said, oh, this is the year I'm going to start my sewing business, perfect year. Perfect year. But remember, whatever you do in a one will not fully mature for nine. So you have to be in it for the long haul. And the beginning half of the 1 year is kind of maybe a little bit trial and error. But we're right at that, we're going to be moving now to the second half of the year and this is where you've got to kind of narrow it down. And maybe there's three things that you love. So don't worry about all the other things. Let's just focus on the three and then number them. Which one brings you the most joy? And whatever's number one, that's the one you give the most attention to. And
Even
see,
if it doesn't make sense to you logically, or you're like, well, I don't know, that's the one I can't see the path on how I'm going to make money doing it, or
yeah.
doesn't
Can
matter.
I
Go
tell
back
you
to the
a really,
joy.
really funny story really quickly? I know we're running out of time. So a big Italian family. I have a lot of cousins, and we have a cousin chat text thread. And there's always making fun of somebody in that cousin's chat, and it's always me. I'm the weirdo cousin, like the mystic, the spiritual one. So I tell my cousins because I was offered a teaching job, and I came home and I was crying, and I told my husband, I was like, I think my soul is gonna die if I take this job. And he said, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, I really want to see if I can become a professional numerologist. So I tell my cousins I'm going to do this professionally, and they were like, "What? You're nuts. Who's going to pay you for the numbers? You're crazy." And guess what, Tiffany? They won't buy a house, sell a house, make a move, do this without getting their numbers done first. So do
Exactly.
not worry about what other people say. The reason why I did this was because it was right for Larissa. It felt right to me. I loved it. I knew I was good at it, and I knew I could help people. It's a tool in my tool belt. I had no idea what it would bring me. Was I scared? Yes, I was. I put some of my most viral videos. I don't even think I'm wearing a bra. Like I'm wearing a right? No makeup. I'm a mess. And someone's going to judge you no matter whether you do it or whether you don't. So do what makes you freaking happy, and do not waste the power of a 1 year. Because I'm telling you right now, the one is foundation. If you start it now, it'll be here in the long run.
Period. You heard it. It's not just me saying it.
Yeah.
You have the numbers to back it up. Those of you who like having even more evidence,
But
there you
wait,
go.
one thing you said, what not to do in a 1 year. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Do not isolate yourself. Do not pull away. Do not hide. And because that one, remember, it's lonely. So you might have to go out of your way to make time for the people you love, to try to be a better listener, a better friend, a better daughter, a better business person, because you can get wrapped in your own world, and then you will hurt the people you really don't want to hurt. So just be very careful of that. I hope that made sense.
No, I hear you. Very, very potent and timely, and I needed to hear that. Thank you. Because
You're
I can go too far with that, and it's not personal, and it can feel very challenging and heavy going through this rebirth to have more energy of like being around more people.
Yes.
But you saying lean into that. You don't have to like go to 1,000%, but don't pull completely away from that. Gives
Yes. And
me
also the one
source.
the one wants to be on its own.
Yeah.
Okay. So they don't like to ask for help. In a 1 year, people tend to not ask for help. But I think what's so important is you have to see where your flaws are, where your weaknesses are, and realize you cannot be the leader of all things. So it's a year where if you're not strong in something, you have to seek out the professionals and the guidance of the experts that can help you plant those seeds that will grow over time.
Well, you guys want to work with her and get a detailed reading because I know you're going, well, I want to know my number for this and I want to know for this. And then you're going to go on AI and get it. Okay. Well, that's very different than having an actual expert help you and guide you with this. So, all of the ways to work with her and to get in touch with her, we have them in the show notes at Goddess Giving, and you can swipe up on Apple, Spotify, Audible, any of those, and I have it in there for you. It's also here in the description on ProjectME TV, on YouTube. Thank you so much for being of service and sharing this wisdom with us today. You just validated millions of people's experience of what's going on. And we do need some validation because we kind of feel like, what the fuck is going on? And when you can at least know this is, you normalized it for us, then it's like, okay, I can surrender more easily and exhale, knowing that like I'm not doing something wrong.
You're not. You're doing everything right, Tiffany, and I just adore you. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.